Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Renu Sharma. Now, today I'm going to talk about specifically about NOCs with job duties. I'm going to cover as many as NOCs I can, and the rest I would be covering in regular intervals of time. Although the objective is to shoot one video in a week, but I can see this time is running fast, so I don't want to waste any of your time here. Now, NOCs would be in detail, and then I'm going to talk about the checklist of the documents, what all is required under this category, TR to PR. Along with that, I will try to cover again the last minute confusions regarding medicals, PCCs, biometrics, and what all documents are required if you are showing your work under work permit category, and how many hours are actually required and how you can calculate it. So that's again a really confusing area, so I'll try to cover without wasting time. Let's jump into first. So this is the main form where you are going to check the eligibility first and foremost. Now, each and everything whatever I'm going to discuss, I will try to send the link in the description box below. I would highly recommend please check my previous videos, because I have covered the documentation part, how you can do the filing, like step by step. It's descriptive. So yeah. Now, when you go onto the website, you will be seeing the temporary residence, find out if you are able to apply or not. So you can check, are you currently in Canada? The lines are still open for the essential and non-essential categories, so you definitely can sorry, essential and healthcare. So you can check here, are you currently in Canada? Yes. Do you have a valid work or study permit? You need to have that. Are you currently employed? That's a mandatory requirement. You cannot apply in case if you are out of work. That's one confusion. Please make a point of it. Do you plan to live outside of Quebec? You need to mention yes, only then it would be it's going to give you these questions. Otherwise, it simply would stop here and then say that you're not eligible. Do you have at least 1 year of work experience? Now, it's clearly mentioned that at least 1,560 hours in the past 3 years in eligible healthcare occupation. I'll try to cover more in detail how you can actually calculate this point. Now, moving on to the next, do you have a total of at least 1 year of work experience in the past 3 years? Now, I chose no, because I'll be choosing more, from the perspective of applicants. 80% would not be associated with healthcare for sure. So I'll be choosing no in this category and yes here. Did you graduate from an eligible program at a designated DLI? So I would be covering yes. So it has to be on or after January 1st, 2017. So that's again a prerequisite you have to fulfill. Have you taken an approved language test? Again, English or French, whatever you have. English is mandatory, so you have to get it. And CLB4 is the rank, if and no, if and there is any confusion out there. So yes, and it has to have the mandatory requirement, like it should be valid. Usually IELTS or CLPIP is valid for 2 years time period. Then what level does it show? So you have to mention like level 5 or level 4, whatever. The requirement is level 4 under this category. Level 5 was for international students that already reached its cap within 24 hours. I've discussed it in the previous video also. Was your language test in English or French? So it's English. And now I'm going to click on continue. So the moment I click on continue, this would be the page where I'm going to land. Workers in Canada. So number of applications that will be accepted, 30,000. So as on June 15, 2021, 14,165 applications have been submitted. There may be a lot of mistakes out there, so they would be reviewing for sure. So now again, 50%, let's take an example, 50% has been approved. So 50% still there. So it's a time, you have enough time till November 2021. Start working on your documentation. Please go to the forms, IMM 0008 and all. So let's cover to that guide thing. Now, when you actually are eligible, you have to create an account. I have explained it in my previous video. Please go and check that. Now you have to sign in with your email address and your password, sign in, and then you start putting your information. In case if you don't have an account, there's a simple way you can create an account and then just go through the formalities and you should be good to go. After that, you have to go through this. I have explained in detail, but again, I'm going to cover this. Now, biometrics is mandatory or not. So the thing is that you and your family member may need to appear in person to have a fingerprints and photograph in case if you have not done biometric in the past. Now, in case if you have gone through biometrics, definitely you don't need to redo it. So it's like, you must, it's mentioned here, if you have to give biometrics, you can give them after you. Now, here is a thing, you need to book an appointment to give your biometrics at one of these official biometric collection service points. Now, biometric exemption for permanent residents who have given biometrics within last 10 years. So if you have previously submitted biometrics within last 10 years, now a lot of people have submitted during the time of work permit and student visa. So don't worry guys, you don't have to do it. So you can check the website for more information. However, please submit the supporting documents, because that's the mandatory requirement for that. Now, supporting documents would be again your proof of entry and status in Canada. So if you are actually working under work permit and you also hold a student visa, so just put everything with your application. That will help your case to boost up. Now, proof of your current employment. Now, it's clearly mentioned here also a copy of your work permit in Canada. That's mandatory. You have to get it done. Now, this is like an employer reference letter from your current employer. Reference letter is not the job offer letter. It's entirely different. So you have to approach your employer to get that. Now, in that, you have to ask that person, your employer, to put all these things in details if that possible. If you get it, that's great. In case if you're not, there is no mandatory requirement that you have to get all these things in your letter. Just try to get as many as you can. And as I mentioned again and again, you're not the only one in the pool or in this segment, so try to get as many as you can. Now, it's clearly mentioned again, you must also include your most recent pay stubs. Now, in case if you were working for say warehouse for like maybe 3 months ago, and now you have left that company, you are working somewhere else, so you need to get the recent pay stubs. Means for the last 3 months you have to get that. Now, in case if you don't have the pay stubs from that particular warehouse, just try to grab whatever you can, and whatever the supporting documents, like usually when you leave a company you get an experience letter, so you just attach that. Now, proof of language proficiency, again, English is mandatory, so you have to submit IELTS with your application. You cannot skip that part. CLB4 is the requirement, is the benchmark. Now, it has to be again, you cannot just submit the photocopy. IELTS is basically the original copy you have to submit to that. So just keep that in mind, and also should have the active validity of at least 2 years. Also, if you have applied for IELTS and thinking of just putting the slip of that, that's not going to work, because IELTS is mandatory. So it has to go with the application. If you don't have that, hold on to your application. Still 15,000 submissions are left. So just go with the complete bunch of documents. Just don't file it for the sake of filing. And as I mentioned in the previous video also, IRCC web form is not applicable in this case right now. Like, all the documents must be included at the time of application. That clearly mentioned. And the processing officer may contact you. Now, in case if you don't have one or two document that not needed to be there in the applications, like for say if you have applied for police clearance certificate and you've got the slip, you've applied for it, you attach that slip, because PCC is not mandatory at the time of applying it. So you can go through that, and I'll just cover that too. Now, you must also include, now it's mentioned here, copies of your T4 tax information slips or work contracts or pay stubs. Now, you definitely can go with the or but if you manage to get pay stubs and copies of your T4 tax information slips, that's going to boost your application. So that's always advisable. Whatever is available with you, just get that. Now, this is for international graduates. It's filled, so I'm not going to cover that. So all the documents should be translated. That's again a requirement. If your document is in Hindi language, or for say if it's in Punjabi language, it has to be translated by a certified translator. Only then you attach it. So that's again a main requirement, because visa officer will not be able to understand our language there. So then is who, these are the documents. Now, this is the part I've already covered in previous video, where I have covered the documentation part, like generic application form for Canada, and I have covered it for the essential workers. So please go and check that video. So additional dependents, then Schedule A, background and declaration, additional family information, and these all are not required. In case if you have more, if you're hiring a consultant, you have to put this along, otherwise you don't need. And this is again mandatory, temporary resident to permanent residence. I have covered everything, like how you can put the knock. Now, there's one more confusion a lot of people have while filling this temporary resident to permanent resident form. For say if you're working under different knocks, now for say if you were working as a sales representative, right? So as a sales representative, your knock was different. For say you were actually working under 6552, like as a customer service representative, and again you moved to sales representative. So sales representative and customer service representative have a different knocks, and I'll cover that, just to give that information. So you have to put both the knocks with the job title and then submit the application. Now, this is again, if you're married, please attach a document. Now, sometimes the cases are sensitive where you have applied for the application and you're going through a divorce process, right? So, in that case, you can definitely submit the application as a husband and a wife, but you don't have to submit the application fees like the processing fee and right of permanent residence fee. Now, processing fee is non refundable and right of permanent residence fee is refundable. So, just keep that in mind. So while submitting the application, put your name and application form and your spouse details. So don't put the fees with your application. Now, children's information, the birth certificate of your kids' documents, everything has to be attached. Then again, medical documents, you have to provide the information about it. Now, in case if you've already completed the IME as a part of your previous application, maybe like during the time of student visa or work visa, you don't need to go that. It's clear mentioned here. You may not need to complete another one. However, you have to submit the supporting documents. And in case if you have to book an appointment, just get the receipt and submit it with your applications, right? And then police clearance certificate, again, you and your family member don't need to give us police clearance certificate for any period of time before you were 18 years old or time spent. I know I've covered it, but people still have confusions, so just wanted to resolve that here. So for say somebody's residing over here in Canada for past 1 year, you don't need the PCC because you are here, right? And so these are the things you just have to go through it. It's like details. And then photo requirements, please submit your photographs as per the specifications, uh, as per what's mentioned. Now, when you submit the documents, it's here, you must answer all the questions on this form. So that's first and foremost. Don't use initials. That's again a major mistake a lot of people do. Don't use just the like short forms of anything. Just fill thing. Now you have to download the forms using Adobe and everything, and you need to validate with 2D barcodes. That's mandatory, especially for the IMM 0008 form. Now, again, if the 2D barcodes are missing, you will not be able to, like, they will not be able to process your applications. So it's there. Now, let's quickly cover the qualifying work experience. A lot of people had confusion here, and this is the updated information as on May 26, 2021, and I've covered a whole video on it. But again, I would like to confirm this information to a lot of confusing minds here. So, workers in Canada, like in healthcare or essential non-healthcare, so this is the conditions they have asked for. Work experience must meet the following. So the work experience must be equivalent to at least 1 year of full-time work experience or must have been acquired in the last, like in the 3 years preceding the date when the application permanent residency is received. Now, for say if you are actually working for like last 3 years and you don't have enough number of hours, like 1,560, definitely you can submit the application even if it's going in like 1.5 years or maybe 2 years time period. So for students, you guys are allowed to work for 20 hours per week. And during the time of COVID, you've been asked to work full time. And a lot of people actually work full time, maybe like 30 hours or even reach to 40 hours per week. Now, as per the guidelines, it's mentioned that if you see here, now I'll just read this. The 1 year of work experience can be acquired through multiple periods of employment. That means if you are working as a customer service representative, I don't know, 66552, and then you were working as a sales representative as 6623, right? So you will be qualifying under this. That's not a worry point, and you have to mention those NOCs in your form, TR to PR pathway, but must be equal at least 1,560 hours in the last 3 years before the application for permanent residence is received, right? Now, work experience must be acquired over a period of at least 1 year. Now, this is the line: work in excess of 30 hours per week over a shorter period cannot compensate for any shorter overall period of experience. So, this is the guideline which has been clearly indicating that if you are trying to squeeze in 40 hours for 2 months time period right away, that is not going to be eligible. However, I would, and I've been saying it from the day one, please submit the experience. Like, don't skip that. Even if you work for 40 hours, just submit that. Sometimes it's going to boost your case. Now, this we have already covered. Now, this is one more thing people have confusion, like who are actually on student visa, they don't have a valid work permit. Please submit your application with whatever the work permit you have received, because as I mentioned, you are eligible for 20 hours per week. So principal applicants should provide a copy of the work permit or study permit that demonstrates that they held authorization for the time worked. If it's not provided, now officers shall verify authorization to work in the global case management system. Okay, so they will be able to do that. Some applicants may have had authorization to work without a work permit, or have been authorized to work by virtue of their work permit. So when you are actually working for you are studying with any your learning center or learning institutions, you do have the provision to work as a part of your study permit. So you definitely can submit your application, and in case if any documents is falling short, the visa officer would definitely ask you for that. So you don't need to worry about these things. And these are the things. Now let's quickly jump on to NOCs, that because that's a main topic I really wanted to cover here, where it is now. Okay, sorry. Now this is the NOC. So now under NOC, if you see, I have put here 7452. That is for material handler. So that's again a major confusion how you can define that. So first and foremost, these all job responsibility could not be with one work profile, right? So you don't have to go by like, okay, should I do all like 8 or 10 job responsibility, whatever the job responsibilities you think that you're actually is allowed to put in your experience letter, you can put that and submit the application. Now in case if you're just meeting 2 responsibility, then of course your case is getting weak here. But again, nobody can judge that. Trust me when I say that. I was associated with the immigration industry. People used to get rejection, and nobody knows that. So this is entirely in the hands of visa officer. So I would recommend you to please put the job duties as much as you can, like if you are working in that profile. Now again, it cannot be the replica of what exactly mentioned out here. However, 90% of your job responsibility should match with that. Now for say, under this, you have to be like load, unload, and move products and materials by hand or using basic materials. So these should be the job titles for material handler. Now, bin filler. Now, it's not going to be exactly what's written here. Like your job letter would should not say that you're working as or may not say you're working as a material handler, because that is not going to be the part. Now, these are the job titles, like maybe a truck loader or storage worker, stockpiler, railway car loader, or a lumber piler. Things like that. And just when you scroll it down, you will be able to see now exclusion. So these are the job titles. They have specifically say that they would be excluding it from here. Now if you're working as a freight attender, so you can go on 7534, because this is more close to air transport ramp attendants. Okay, now heavy equipment operators except cranes, so 7521 is a knock for this. Longshore workers, then 7451 is the knock for this, right? So mover helpers, right? So in case if you are in this role, then this would be the role. So this is actually, they have clearly mentioned exclusion, so this would be excluded from here. Now let's move on to very common, that is 6623, and this is for other sales representatives profile. Now, for say workers and other sales representative, again, the example, like as a title, for say if you are working for a retail house, you're working as a telemarketer, right? You are actually working at a telephone solicitor, right? So 6623 would be more appropriate because you're working as a sales representative. Now make sure that you should not be working as a customer service representative under this, like you're just kind of serving the customer, because that is entirely a different knock, and I'm going to talk about. Now this is eligible 6623. So again, you are making sales, you are making recommendation to the customer, so you can upsell the customers over the phone. You're basically building up the business and generating revenue for the company. So that's how the knock should be. Now exclusion should be like cashiers. This is not the one. Now kiosk sales clerks जो होते हैं, like sorry, so that's one. Retail and wholesale trade managers, retail sales supervisors, so that will not be considered as a part of this. Now let's do, this was for sales representative, so this was 6552. That is um, so this is what we have covered. Now 6552. 652. This is for other customer and information service representative. Now, if you see here, now, accounts information clerk, over your in administrative work, right? And then is bus information clerk, complaints clerk again, and then a customer service representative, like in the call center. You definitely qualify under this. Then order desk agent and public relations clerk. Now, if you're working as a like maybe as a customer support agent with Shaw, Telus, so you definitely can go into this, like take customers' order for goods and services. So here you're not basically upselling the customer. You're basically doing a customer thing, like you're investigating the complaints and then kind of sorting them out. You're hearing their grievances. So these all are profile. If you're matching up with it, definitely you're falling in that. Now, exclusion would be like customer information service supervisor, customer service representative, like in banks and other financial institutions. So this would be considered in 6551, which is very much in demand. So you definitely qualify. Now let's go into 6551 here. So they are actually defining, which knock is uh, more apt for you. So if you're working with a bank, for say TD Bank or Scotia Bank or CIBC Bank or ATB Bank, as a customer service representative, you should be in as a bank teller, credit union teller, financial customer service representative. So your experience is more close to it. Again, try to explain your job responsibilities in details and try to attach all the supporting documents, pay stubs, T4 forms, your experience letters. If you get manage to get uh, reference letter. So yeah, these are the things you have to do that. Now let's move on to another knock, which is again very popular here, 7512. So I've tried to, I'm trying to cover as many knocks as I can. So if you're actually working as a bus drivers, so these are like if you're working right, like for a school bus driver or a transit, then is a Calgary bus thing, and then this is the basic one, like you're driving the buses. So you definitely are qualifying with this category. And so exclusion is, this is what they have mentioned, like if you are supervisors and inspectors of bus drivers, so this would be exclusion here. Now let's move on to another knock, that is 6541, very common again. So security guard. So if you're actually associated with a warehouse as a security guard, right? So or maybe like a parking enforcement agent. So if you see here, exclusion here is managers of security agencies or police officers or supervisors of security guards. Like if you're actually heading the supervisors I'm sorry, heading the security guard, so you will be falling in 6316, not in this NOC. So just keep that in mind. And so these are the job responsibilities. You have to go through it, like drive and guard armored trucks, and then investigate unlawful. So all in all, for say if you're working with for a warehouse or maybe Walmart, so your job responsibility might not be similar what it's mentioned out here, right? So you have to pick the one that's close to your profession and put it inside your reference letter or your uh, proof of your employment. So just try to go through all these. Now 9617 is another knock. So I'll be covering this. Now laborers in food and beverage processing. So if you are actually working in Save On Foods or Superstore or Walmart or wholesale stores or Loblaws. So these are the things you would be doing, either feed and unload food, beverage, associated products, processing machine, and clean work areas and equipment. So transport raw materials, finished products, and packaging materials. So these basically are essential duties what you will be doing. So now, if you are working like laborers in fish and seafood processing or process control and machine operators, then definitely you would be excluded under this knock, right? So just keep in mind, and again try to understand the job responsibilities over in detail. Now one more knock I wanted to cover here, it's for 4411, and I got a couple of queries regarding that in my email. So if you're actually working as a home child care providers, so your job responsibilities would be like, supervising care of your for your children. Now, it has to be with a registered one, that will be highly recommended. Now prepare formulas and change diapers and all that things for, so you will be falling under this. Now in case exclusion would be child care workers like in daycare, live-in care worker, caregivers for seniors and persons with disabilities. So that would not be considered under this NOCs. Okay, so you can check this 4412 knock. So this is one. Now, one more knock I would like to cover here. So in case if you are actually working in service station uh, or a fuel station, so these are the job responsibilities we'll be covering as a service station attendants. So refuel vehicles, perform minor service and maintenance such as washing the windshield, checking fluid levels and air pressure. Then these are the responsibilities. If you think that they're close to, it's like maintain dock area. If you are in this segment, marine facilities and assistant seasonal moving of ramps and docks, so just try to go through it. And if you think that you're actually close to it, you will be able to, uh, put your application under this NOC. So just make sure you are very clear on that. This is again now one more knock I would like to cover here. Now this is 6611. This is cashiers. Very common. A lot of people have confusion. Now I would like to say that cashier would be like if you are working at a Costco, right? Or maybe as a superstore, or even you if you are somewhere related to these job responsibilities like receiving and processing the payments by cash, check, credit card, and automatic. Now, if you are not working like a front end because you're providing information to customers, you're assisting the customers for say in Walmart, right? They have a sports section, so you're actually guiding them, you're helping them. And even in movie theaters, you're kind of helping the people in selecting the seats and then collecting the money or currency. So that's how it should cover. Now make sure that this should not confuse with these NOCs, right? So in case if you think that your job responsibility is actually matching up with all of them, like 90% should be similar to what it's mentioned out here, you definitely can go ahead and put your application under this NOCs. And these are the examples, like if you're actually working as a box office cashier or an office cashier or movie theater cashier, so grocery store cashier, as I mentioned, like Walmart, Superstore, Costco, and self-serve gas bar cashier, you are eligible under this knock. Now, uh, some people have confusion that 6711, like if you are working with hospitality or like a food and beverages, I'm afraid that you will not be able to qualify under this NOCs, and I've covered it in the past also just to clear many of your diets again. So if you're working with Tim Hortons for say, and you are you know trying to put your application under 6611, so definitely you're not going to qualify under this because they are asking for more like as a cashier. So 6711 is entirely a different NOC. So I'm afraid you will not be able to qualify here. So this is the one: food counter attendants, kitchen helpers, and related support occupations. So if you're working with Burger King or McDonald's, see, these are the things you are doing actually. So I'm afraid at this point of time, this NOC is not included in it. So just keep that in mind. All right, so I think this is all for NOCs. And again, I would suggest please go through the forms and go through my videos. I have covered all the doubts, like FAQ step by step. So, in case if you have any confusion, you can always send an email to me. Like a lot of people have confusion where they don't want to be open about the cases, so they can always send me an personal email. I will try to resolve as many as queries you can. Now, for more updates, please subscribe to my channel because with that, you will be able to get an immediate update. So, thank you so very much for watching and have a good day and stay safe. Bye.